Good morning, everyone. I love memes. They tell a story, and usually, well, a picture's worth 1,000 words. So something like this tells a huge story without saying anything at all. And on the left is Charlie Brown wearing an Alberta oil sands cap, and he's carrying a pipe. And on the right is Pigpen, and he's dragging around a big old bag of coal that says BC Coal Exports. And Pigpen says to Charlie Brown, "You need to clean up your act." Right. So poignant, right? Like, how much coal does BC export? It's the biggest export commodity with $3.3 billion of coal mined in 2016, right? And much of it is metallurgical. So it goes for the making of steel, just to be clear. But isn't that interesting, right? Isn't that interesting? Man, this stuff is wild because on one side, shouldn't Canada be helping each other get their products to market? And on the other side, not be hypocritical, right? Anyway, regardless, moving on. Remember back last year, 2018 in September, when Miss Leona Alleslev crossed the floor, left the Liberals to sit as a Conservative? Who would have thought she had leadership aspirations? And just a year later, and an election later, well, here's Mercedes Stevenson tweeting, quote, "Exclusive. Global News has learned that Leona Alleslev will be announced as Deputy Leader of the Conservative Party tomorrow morning. Multiple Conservative sources say Alleslev was told today." Hashtag Canadian politics. Leona Alleslev crossed the floor from the Liberal Party in September 2018. She is a former Air Force officer and GTA MP. Alleslev is relatively new to politics. She was elected for the first time in 2015 for the Conservatives. She brings the key element of being from the GTA, is generally seen as a progressive in the party, and she's a woman. Yeah, she was a Liberal, generally seen as a progressive in the party. So welcome to the Conservative Party. We know you were a Liberal. Would you like to lead the party? Okay, just deputy leadership for now. I mean, come on, right? Is this weird or is it just me? Here's CTV News. They've got a story on it, and this is from this morning, November 28th, and they say, Scheer appoints floor-crossing Liberal as deputy leader of the Conservative Party. Conservative leader Andrew Scheer is appointing a Toronto area MP who crossed the floor from the Liberals just over a year ago as his new deputy leader. The Canadian press has learned that Leona Alleslev will be named this morning to replace former Deputy Leader Lisa Raitt, a longtime MP who lost her own Toronto area seat in the October election. Alleslev was first elected as a Liberal in 2015, but crossed the floor to join the Conservatives in September 2018. She said at the time she disagreed with the Liberals' handling of the economy and foreign affairs. Her appointment as Conservative Deputy Leader comes as Scheer is trying to refocus his caucus on next week's return to the House of Commons amid widespread dissent in the party over whether he should stay on as leader. 2 campaigns have now been launched seeking to mobilize grassroots to vote him out at his leadership review in April. So, I mean, who knows? And just a strange choice, in my opinion. I think that fundamentally, you pick somebody who's been a Conservative for more than 10 minutes, right? I mean, sure, she's long in the tooth. She's military, ex-military, had one election cycle, but she was a Liberal for 3 years of it. So it just doesn't sit right with me, if you ask me. Here's a news report, and the date isn't in the byline. I can only assume that this is the date for the article, and tomorrow the date will be put down here. I actually sent an question to the author, to Mark McNeil, and said, hey, there's no date in the byline. I'd like to use this. I'm going to use it anyway because I think that it's interesting, but I don't like using sources that don't have the date in the byline. They do this so the content is, quote, evergreen, and that means it doesn't matter the day you read it, it's still relevant. But this one isn't. This is up-to-date data. This should be, I don't know. Anyway, I came across it on Twitter today. I hope it's up-to-date. I think it's up-to-date. It seems up-to-date to me. Okay. The Hamilton Spectator is reporting, city facing escalating rent prices and evictions. Social Planning and Research Council says the cost of renting an apartment is becoming urgent. Yeah. Hamilton is going through a, quote, rental crisis with monthly prices and evictions soaring, says a new report from the city's Social Planning and Research Council. Rent prices have increased by 21%, more than 3 times the rate of inflation from 2015 to 2018. And evictions have shot up to 150 last year from 95 4 years ago. Renters are being squeezed in multiple ways, and they have limited recourse in the very difficult rental market they're experiencing in Hamilton, says Sarah Mayo, the report's author. Hamilton has seen higher rates of rental increases than other communities, she says, and eviction notices for reasons other than non-payment of rent are increasing in Ontario and Hamilton at alarming rates, more than doubling in the last 10 years. And there's an ellipsis here. So she could have been talking, or he could have been talking, I think it's a she, could have been speaking about this at length. They use these usually to shorten it up a little bit, but also I've seen these used to kind of change the meaning of what has been said from me personally and from people that I know. So just be aware of this, okay? Back to the article. The council says the average rent in Hamilton is $1,009 per month. If rent had risen at the rate of inflation over the past 4 years, the average rent in 2018 would have been, or would be, $884 a month, the Hamilton Rental Landscape Bulletin says. Across Ontario and Canada, renters are feeling the squeeze, but Hamilton has been particularly challenged by rising rent, the report says. The finding is interesting because the city's apartment rental market had been marked by nominal annual increases from 2001 to 2015, but things have dramatically changed in the past 4 years as part of a rental crisis that is affecting numerous communities across the country. I scroll down a little bit. A recent survey by the online apartment listing service rentals.ca found that among the company's listings, Hamilton had the highest annual increases in Canada, 24.4% rise. As average rent continues to rise, affordability becomes a concern when wages are not rising as quickly, and renter households fear of growing portion of their income contributing to the rent and utilities alone, the bulletin says. And I just want to show you, it says by the numbers here, but 6.9% is the number of the average rent increase in Hamilton from 2017 to 2018. And the report was released now, but is looking at 2017, 2018. That's what I understand from this. So I could be incorrect, but I believe that that's how this is being reported. 9.2%, the average rent increase in Kitchener, Waterloo, Cambridge from 2017 to 2018. Your salary did not rise that much. And the heating, hydro rates, which have increased as well, the property taxes, which have increased as well, the food prices, which have increased as well. Your salary has not increased to cover these things. If more than 30% of your salary, and that's what we're going to get to now, is going to housing, going to shelter, then you have less money now, right? Like, because your rent has gone up by much more than inflation. And your salary has not gone up by much more than inflation, if it's gone up by inflation at all. And I said this before, often that you're not getting a raise, you're just staying at the same buying power that you were last year, right? The money is the same in your bank account, but you can buy this about the same as you could last year, right? That's the treadmill that we're now on with this economy, right? So back to this, 26.1%, the percentage of renters in Hamilton spending more than 30% of their income on shelter. Toronto topped the list with 36.6% of its population paying 30% or more. 10.5%, the percentage of renters in Hamilton spending more than 50% of their income on shelter. Toronto topped the list with 17.5% paying 50% or more. 10% paying half their salary for shelter. That's a lot of money. 40% rent increases in the downtown core and mountain of Hamilton from 2010 to 2018. And this is a little bit of a sneaky number to use because everything else has been modern, 2015, 2017. So going back to 2010, it seems like wants to be a big number. What's the number from 2015 to 2018? That I'm interested in. 25%? Is it higher than the 9.2%? Because that'd be news. That's worthwhile. 40% is a huge number, but there's other factors over a decade, right? 5 years, 4 years. That's Trudeau, right? Like the Trudeau year started in 2015. Here we go. So anyway, that's interesting to me. The last story for this morning, and I'm not going to read this because there's not a lot of information. The Toronto Sun is reporting that CSIS took an interest in the Danforth shooting. New documents confirm. So they did a couple of sit-reps, situation reports the morning after, and they continued to do them for a couple of days, and then they went back to normal protocols. The pages that were released to the newspaper were all redacted, so they have no idea what was in them. They just know that they exist. So that's interesting stuff. It's interesting stuff that CSIS was interested, but we were told by Goodall, the Minister of Public Safety, that nothing to see here. Everything's fine. I believe he was the Minister of Public Safety at the time. I could be mistaken, but he was in a position of power and was the person we were to be listening to in that situation. And it seems like, just like all the other stuff that during the Trudeau tenure, every single violent tick seemed to be covered up really quickly with the media, and just frustrating. That's about it for today. Thank you for watching, everybody. Oh, here's the CSIS thing. Thanks for watching, everybody. Check out CanadaPoly.com and have a wonderful, wonderful